A couple of days ago, um, Final Fantasy, what is it called? Intergrade got a new DLC coming out in June. And so, I'm seeing people acting all like, oh, let's go. Like one dude, he was screaming and it looked like he was about to rip his shirt off. And this chick, her name is Curious Joy. It was funny how she popped out of the seat. That shit was funny. But and I'm sitting up there thinking like, oh, this is cool, but I can't play it because the motherfucker ain't got no PlayStation 5. So I'm like, whatever. Like, I'll play it when I play it. But I started thinking about it like, oh shit, wait a minute. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. But I was thinking about it like, they gave her a whole new story, even though this was planned, like when they was working on the actual like main game. But I was seriously thinking like, because the whole time everybody kept thinking after the game is them leaving Midgar. And so I was like, yeah, that's true. And so I was like, thinking the next game, you wouldn't see the next game for like a good 4 years from now. And then here comes this DLC, the Integrate DLC. So I was like, oh, that's cool. People excited about it. So I was like, they are actually stalling. Because even though they haven't promised the second version yet, like the main thing when they leave Midgar, I'm thinking like they're stalling because them leaving Midgar is not finished. And at this point it's probably nowhere near finished. And if it's any like an estimate, I would say like maybe like 50% of it is done. But if people are thinking it's going to be the original island, like, because it was like, what was it, like 4 major islands. It was the one Midgar was in, then it was the one with like Coast of the South, Nibelheim or Nibelheim, however you pronounce it, with Rocket Town. Then it was the one with the Wutai Island, and then where the North Cave was. Those are like the 4 major ones. And I'm seriously sitting up here thinking, the island that they're going to be doing is not going to be the same. Because the island is going to be way too big to be trying to put all that room to adjust for a big modern world. So the only thing that I could see them doing, because it seems like the Yuffie thing is cool. This is just from my perspective and what I'm thinking. Like, the Yuffie thing is cool, but it just seems like they was at some point kind of structuring like, how should we go about making this, like, leaving Midgar, actually leaving this shit. Because now it's an open world now. And it's like, is it going to be like how Final Fantasy 13 was when you went to Grand Post? What is it going to be like? And like, but Final Fantasy 7 didn't have that same vibe. So it's going to be, and I know some people don't like this game because of they only don't like it because of the popularity. But to me it seems like it's going to be an open world, like a Grand Theft Auto, or like or whatever the case, like a open, like traditional open world. and for every basically major island is going to be another game to it. Like basically it's going to be like an ongoing series. Like they said, it was like when this first started, it was like episodic adventure. It was supposed to be 3 episodes, but things changed, and I don't even think they're even using that anymore. But they're gonna basically, it seems like every island is going to be its own like game technically. And they're gonna like sprinkle DLCs in there just to tie people over. But it's gonna be like we'll say like Midgar is gonna be like the main, like if this is going like GTA terms, like the main Midgar is going to be Los Santos. The next biggest location was Junin. And that's going to probably be like where like Paleto Bay is, like far from Midgar. So everything else in between, like we'll say like Calm Village would be somewhere near like Chumash or something. And then the Chocobo Island, like not the Chocobo Island, the Chocobo stable, like the Chocobo farm, that will be somewhere near, like it's like this church, kind of like where Zancudo is. It's going to be like that. And then like the mountain that separates Los Santos to going towards Sandy Shores, that's going to be the Mithril Cave where the snake is. It's going to be like that, but it's going to be bigger. It will have to be bigger. But I'm just saying it's going to be like that. Because thinking about the island in the original game and trying to make it like trying to expand it, it will be way too big. That's just for me. Because they have to put all that stuff in. But at the same time though, I mean, like playing devil's advocate is like, it seems like the PlayStation 5, the drive, the SSD drive should be able to handle a lot that Square will throw at it. So, it seems like, they would have a lot of this stuff finished and could actually put it in. And even if you look at like other Final Fantasies, like Kingsglaive, like that monster, that was Diamond Weapon. And even when when Advent Children came out, when was that, like 05? And you saw like Rufus, when you saw basically the animation scene when he got hit and he blew up in his office. I was like, they had a lot of the stuff damn near done. Like even that opening, like was it a prelogue or whatever it is, like in the beginning of Advent Children, like you seen a lot of the stuff from 7 that they was talking about. So it just seemed like a lot of the stuff was already finished. And then you got like, again, you had the you got like the character models for like all of them in Advent Children. Like I think games now are more powerful than that movie. And then they already had like the outside world to the shit. Even in the beginning of Final Fantasy Remake, when the bird is flying, you see outside Midgar. So it's not like a big stretch of the imagination that they can't put a lot into it. But I just wouldn't hold my breath thinking the same size of the world is going to be the same thing. Because then it's like the argument where since we're remixing it, like it's a remake. I mean, it's like it's going to be a whole different thing. So, like, I think the Yuffie story is cool. Like seeing this new dude, like where was he? And it's so funny, like, cause I remember playing the original back in '97, and like, damn, how old was I? Like 13, something like that. And it was like, playing it, and you gotta find it, because you first kind of really find Yuffie. You find her in one of the forests. You can get her then, but you really see her when you get to Wutai Island. But it's like there was no, what was his name, Sonar or whatever his name is. Like there was no dude, you know what I'm saying? And the other blind guy, like there was no blind dude with her. She was just by herself. Now she got like a whole team. Like it's funny seeing it, and it also, because I don't like when people try to like remix something because they be fucking it up, and this didn't happen. Like, when did this shit happen? But it makes sense with how it's structured. Like, this is when Cloud fell through the roof of the church when he met Aerith. And it's like, this side of the story is something different. So it's just like, yeah, it looks like it makes sense. And so it's cool. But like I said, I'm just thinking like, yeah, they're stalling, because the rest of the outside world, that's not finished. And I'm like, because I saw like some of the making of the remake, they was using the Unreal Engine, and I got it right here. Like I said, I would be doing landscapes on this, like on my YouTube, but for some reason the OBS thing that I got won't screen that, and I can't find no tutorial on it. I would be, because I got like a whole bunch of landscapes, like over 100 of them. Because even like, okay, because the process of this whole thing, well, I'm gonna say my process. I had height maps, and even though the height maps came out wrong, because I was doing the white parts too white. It's the whole thing. The height maps was kind of wrong, but it wasn't wrong on the simple fact that you could change it once you import the data over into Unreal. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna actually put my countries in this shit. So I did the countries. The only problem is I want a whole sea floor. So that means the countries will have to, like at the beach, the coastline will have to slope down and eventually connect to the actual ground of the planet. So now but honestly, it's just like a small mountain. It's just a small island on a flat piece of like terrain. But in the middle, it's like if I wanted to like cheat, the flat part around the actual country, I could put water around it and it would just be like an island. But it's a country though. So I got all 8 of my shit. I might import it to this to see what the deal is. See what I can do with it one day. But in the meantime, I was doing other little terrains. Like, and it's a lot of them. I would say I could connect all my terrains and probably have a bigger open world just off of the terrains I made. I could stamp them all together, connect them in a certain way. My terrains would probably be bigger than the biggest open world game now. But there's no materials even though I got the materials, there is no materials on them. Then you got to worry about the vegetation. Don't be fooled when they say we got to handpick every little individual tree and all this shit. Nope. Foliage spawner. That solves all your problems. You set the radius, density, and it's been a while since I did this. But and then you put, it's like a big like box, and the box is like red, like the edges of the box is like red, blue, green. I think red, blue, and yellow. This is different. It's red, blue, green. But I think the green one is swapped out with the color yellow. But anyway, and it's just a clear box. You put however you want the shit. You put your like trees there, and you spawn them. And you have however many trees, like 100 trees, 50 trees. You have them spread out. So it's not like somebody's individually stamping them. The only way that's like a thing is if you're kind of like a specific thing that you're trying to like do, or like you're trying to like a tree is broken just here, and then the rest of the trees are kind of like leaning. Some of them are fine. That'd be the only way I could see them saying, "Oh, we have to hand stamp the trees so people could be all geeked up, like, oh my God, they had to do so much hard work." Stop. All it is a foliage spawner. You set the distance, the parameters, and the radius, and then you got your shit. Then you gotta think about the static meshes, which are like buildings, rocks or whatever. And since Final Fantasy already had Junin because of Advent Children, because in my personal opinion, they've been working on this since the tech demo in like, what was that, 2003? They've been working on this for a long time, because think about it, 2003 was the tech demo. Not long after that was Advent Children. And then all these other Final Fantasies in between was nothing but like what did I call them? Like they were serious like prototypes to what they wanted to do with Final Fantasy VII. I mean, even Lightning had Cloud Suit as I think it was DLC. It was Cloud Suit. And when did 13, what was that, Lightning's Return, when did that come out? You see what I'm saying? So if you look at certain things, like it was just a build up to this anyway. So you know what I'm saying? But for what I've seen them doing the remake, it was more like facial like mapping in Unreal. Now I don't know what they're doing with their like terrains and if they're using Maya or whatever. I don't know what they're using, but I use mine for terrain. Even though you could use like certain things, they got nodes and blueprints and stuff in there. I don't fuck with the blueprints, but I used to love doing the nodes. But as far as I see, they're really taking their time making that open world. And I like I said, I just think it's going to be structurally different. It's just going to be different. It's not going to be the map that you know. It might be the same shape of it, but it's not going to be the size you think it is. So we'll see. But like I said, Final Fantasy, that's the shit right there. Because like I said, I'm seeing all this stuff, and you got some of the kids out there, like, what's her name, Curious Joy. Like, I mean, like I said, I'm old school. Like, so this is like, I'm waiting for Sid, to be honest. I didn't like his southern accent. Not saying I don't like southern accents. It's for him. Because, I mean, like, reading the game, you got your own, like, preconceived notions of how they would sound. And he didn't sound like a southern dude. He sounded like a mechanic or something. You know what I mean? And hearing him in Advent Children was like, huh? Like it's just, but yeah, I'm like I said, I just see what may happen. I'm not gonna be like getting my hopes up and just be like, oh, this is, you know what I mean? Like if they do something crazy, I'm not gonna be all like upset about the shit, because like I said, I see what might come of this. It's gonna be a whole different thing. They might actually cut some shit out, like, oh, what was that? What was where you get the Phoenix at? Fort Condor or something like that. I think that's what it was called. I just feel like they might actually cut that out, just because it wasn't insignificant to the story. Like to me, it wasn't, but I could see them cutting that out. Like that Chocobo farm, that's gonna be there. Calm Village, that has to be there. Um, it's just like enough stuff has to be there. And plus, even with Crisis Core, then look at Crisis Core. They're talking about remaking that because they already have damn net assets they already need. I mean, it's just like, okay, like I can't remember that fruit. It was like purple. Cause I didn't play that one because I didn't have a PlayStation Portable. But I've seen enough of it. And they are, like I said, they already could take Genesis and easily put him in Final Fantasy 7 too. Cause his, like, the technology now was more powerful than what they rendered for the animation scenes in Crisis Core. So you could easily put him in there. But even with the game model, like just the regular game model back in the day, like, cause look at her dress. This dress is just a gray model. I have to fix the high slit up there. I have to fix that. But once, because I think the fruit in Final Fantasy was purple, they're just going to remove the material from it. And it's going to be gray, just like this model here. And they're just going to update the material. Then, just so it won't be so blocky from how it used to be in Crisis Core, they're just going to subdivide it so it could be a smoother, you know, a more smoother like object than it was before. They're not going to put like so many of them, but it's going to be, the trick is don't subdivide something way too much because it's going to be harder to render. Like the character here, the topology on, oh shit, the topology on this is good. So it could render a lot better. If you subdivide it way too much, if your mesh is too dense, you're not going to be able to render it. It's going to take far too long to render, and it's just not going to, it's going to lag your shit. So just keep everything cool. So that's all they have to do with certain objects in Crisis Core. They were already in Nibelheim or Nibelheim, whatever you want to pronounce it. They was already there. All they have to do is just take that whole, like the assets in that, have a small dedicated team to update it. Boom, you have it like fixed. Like, cause all the materials they're gonna do, they're just gonna replace them and put like 4K textures to them. Depending on what type of object it is, you could get away with 2, depending on the object. But most likely, since it's PlayStation 5, they're gonna start doing, they're gonna start using 4K. So that's what they're going to end up doing. So we'll see how Final Fantasy is going to be like. But like I said, it's just certain things like doing this. And this is just, it's crazy for me to say this, because I mean, I didn't never think I was going to even do this. Like not last year, but I would say like 2 years ago, somebody would have been like, you would know and pick up certain things about the inner workings of video games. I would have been like, nope, that's crazy. Like, especially if I took a time machine and went back to like 2019, 2018, and I would have been like, you could make Final Fantasy 15 if you wanted to. I would have laughed at myself like, dude, you must be, get the fuck out of here. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, no, you could literally make that shit. You could, not the coding though. I didn't get that far in the future, but you could, the models, the objects, you're going to be able to do this in the future. 2020, you can do this. I would have been like, whoa. And especially if I would have seen this shit on my phone, like, here, look at it. You're going to do this in the future. That would have been crazy. That would have been mind-blowing. So, like I said, in Final Fantasy, they're going to be doing shit like this. So, I'm just saying, I really want to play that Yuffie game. I mean, just because I'm a fan of Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy's been the shit. When I saw Final Fantasy 7 over my friend's house, his name was Nick, and I'll never forget where he was at. He was in the Badlands, in the Coral Prison, with a dude, you get close to him, he starts following you around. And me and Joshua went to his house, and he was playing it, and we was like, damn, what is this? And he was like, this is Final Fantasy 7. Like, we supposed to know, because he got it early. He pre-ordered it and got the t-shirt, because that's when it was the regular picture of Cloud. We got the Buster Sword and everything, so he had that. And so we was like, damn. And so I would never forget, he summoned Shiva. That was the first one I saw, and I was like, nope. I'm getting this somehow. I'm getting it. And everybody I knew, this dude, my man Chris, he always let people borrow the shit. Like, if you asked him, let me borrow this game, because that's how I played Air Combat. I was like, because he used to always come with his, in his bag, he used to just like, oh, this is a game I got this game. Then you would be like, oh, yo, let me borrow this. And he'd be like, okay, cool. And anytime you borrowed a game, next time you seen him, he had another copy of the shit. But it was like the real thing. Like, he was literally going back buying the shit again. Anyway, I mean, he was kind of balling like that. And it was like, it didn't matter. And so, I remember asking him, yo, let me borrow Final Fantasy. And then he had another copy that somebody else was like, let me borrow this. And he would never ask for the shit back. But we would try to give him the shit back. He'd be like, no. You can keep playing it as long as you want to. And he would just... I mean, he wasn't stealing the shit. Like, he was literally getting it back from the store. So anyway, we played it. Then I remember my man Roosevelt, he had it. Because I remember he beat Sephiroth, Holy Sephiroth, without Bahamut Zero, without Knights of the Round. And I remember he let me, it was hard borrowing shit from him. But he just let me see his game data on a memory card. And I saw that, I played it, I was like, okay, cool. So it was like, damn near everybody that in our little circle, I remember Jeremy Jagabowski, he had it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we was like, Final Fantasy was the shit. So I'm just like, yo, now seeing all these new little iterations of the story. And it just seems, like I said, I don't like when they change stuff. Like, Yuffie got this dude, but it fits so right with how in the timeline, like she was there the whole time, like, and then even thinking about it, like in the past, and you go through the flower bed, and you wake up, and you know what I'm saying? It was like Yuffie was in Midgard that time, like this whole time, all after like 20 some odd years later. Like that shit is just cool to me. But anyway, I just had to put this video out there because, like I said, looking at how they just brought this up, that it has to be open world. If it's anything like Final Fantasy 13 when they went to Pulse, that's going to be disappointing. That, to me, it would be disappointing. But because remember, they're going to have to use that buggy that you get from the golden saucer somewhere. Like, they're going to have to put that in there, and you could drive it until it breaks down when you get to Cosmo Canyon. So my thought process is going to be like, well, it's going to have to be like not the archetype of Final Fantasy 13, where it was like, it was big and Grand Pulse, and then you go to that cave and all that shit. No, it's in order for that to make sense, so you could drive that buggy, even though that was on the other island, it would have to be like an open world. It would just have to. It would have to be very, I wouldn't say soft open world, but it would have to be like an open world, like a GTA, Watch Dogs, Cyberpunk. It would have to be somewhat similar to that, but have like a lot of like open land to the next town, like Calm Village or the Chocobo Island. And they would have to use the same assets, like how at the end of Final Fantasy Advent Children, Cloud was driving down, like he was driving down the street on his motorcycle. Like, they could use that, and wouldn't. I mean, the PlayStation should be able to handle it, because that's an old movie from 2005. So it's not like it will bog down the system now in 2021. It will have to be something like that. You see what I'm saying? So, like I said, we'll see. We'll see. But as of now, I'm out. Money over stank hoes.